Hey, this is David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. I have a favor to ask before we get to today's conversation. We're doing our annual listener survey, and it would really help us out if you took it. And even if you took it last year, we'd be grateful if you took it again, because we can't use last year's data. Please go to citycast.fm/survey to take the survey. It's only 7 minutes long, we know, because we timed it. That's citycast.fm/survey. And when you take the survey, you'll also be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and CityCast swag, that great CityCast swag. citycast.fm/survey.
Today on CityCast Denver, more Denverites than ever are driving electric vehicles, thanks to our state's generous rebates. But our new president has his own ideas. So we've got our favorite EV reporter with us to talk through the local implications. Plus, are Denverites changing their minds about wolf reintroduction 4 years after we voted for it back in 2020? We're talking about all the week's big stories, and of course, our wins and fails of the week. Today is Friday, January 24th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where that notice about an unpaid parking ticket might be a scammer trying to steal your money, or you might just need to pay your dang parking tickets.
I missed this.
Oh?
Yeah.
You didn't get it? I got it.
Was it a text?
I got a text from some jabroni who was like, hey, click this link, give me some money, you got an unpaid ticket.
Oh, yeah, because the city of Denver is going to text you.
I got the scam warning, and I was like, I did not get scammed, but thank you.
No, it's real. I can confirm. I got it. It had the city of Denver logo. It looked real.
I feel like
I saw right through it.
The parking tickets are such a low-stakes thing that I feel like that would be a really hard thing to get people to be like, oh, God, I better pay it. Be like, oh, yeah, I'll get to it.
I wonder how many unpaid parking tickets there are right now in Denver. Just like, what's the total sum?
Yeah,
we talk about budget deficits, but it's like, are there like millions and millions of dollars?
You should do the equivalent of like, guess how many M&Ms are in the jar.
Yeah.
Right? But guess how much
Should we do it right now? I bet we could figure it out.
I don't know if it's like available online, but I bet you could ask the city and they tell you. And I bet it's $3 million.
3?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I will figure this out now that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
No, I like 3 million.
They're immediately, when you get one, it's immediately in the system because I usually, now that I'm a grown adult who's gotten a boot on my car before and learned that lesson, like it comes like right away. So if you get a ticket, you go to the website to pay it, immediately it's in there. So they have to be able to track it pretty easily. Yeah. I would think. Yeah.
I think it's way higher than 3 million. I think it's
totally could be
50.
Okay.
$50 million of unpaid parking tickets. Outstanding.
Put the Redditors on it that are upset about people driving around with temp tags. I love how angry they are.
They are. There's just like a thing in some people's brains that are like, other people are driving wrong. They're not doing it right. All right. It's Friday. We're talking about the news of the week. We're here at the 5280 Magazine Studios. You've heard her voice. Our host, Bree, is here. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
And we have such a great guest today. It's been too long since he's been back on the show. A longtime friend of the show. Colorado Public Radio climate reporter extraordinaire. Welcome back, Sam Brash.
All right. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sam, I have to ask you, because it's been a big week in social media, where are you hanging out on the internet these days?
I'm mostly a Blue Sky boy at this point.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
It's okay. I think it fills most of what I need to do for my job. Like most climate scientists are on there. Most people who care about climate change are on there. So that's great.
What about Elon Musk?
Elon's not there.
He cares about climate change.
He does, but he's not there, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, he should get an account.
He should try it out. It's nice.
It's a good site.
Yeah, good features on there. But I think the big thing I'm upset about is like, I was on Twitter or X or whatever for my job and for NBA Twitter. On NBA Twitter, there was a moment where it was like, they're going to migrate. It's going to happen. Shams is on his way. Like, let's welcome him with open arms here at Blue Sky. And that just never happened. Like, it's still going on over on X. And I don't know what it would take for like a true exodus. But if that happened, it would be all there for me. And then part of me is like, I don't need to do this. Like, this is dumb. This is dumb.
Yeah,
this is a waste of time. So why should I?
That's where I landed with X as well.
Yeah. So Anyway, to the extent that I'm on social media, that's what I'm doing, and it's methadone. You know,
Cool. Good for
it's
you.
methadone.
Happy for you. Follow Sam on Blue Sky. I
There you
signed
go.
up for Blue Sky this week.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's okay. I like it because our friend Deep Singh Badesha, our politics guy, he's on there. He posts
is
there
he?
now, so I can get his stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for
That's-
the return of MySpace. So that was my
Good luck.
that was my prime time on the
Fingers
internet.
crossed. Come back. Is it Tom or was that
Tom.
Yeah, come back, Tom.
Oh yeah.
Tom,
It's
God,
your moment.
really hands off. Great guy. Just
Yeah.
didn't bother us. Just showed up in our top 8s. I was just very infamous for salacious blogs I wrote on there with really salacious titles that you could only click if they were private.
Give us
unless
an
you were.
example.
I mean, it was all about like Denver music gossip and stuff,
Oh.
like bands
Yeah,
and stuff.
like.
Cool.
I mean,
Dish.
I don't know. It's been how long has it been? 15 years.
I know. There's people out there that are going to freak out when they
They're
hear
gonna
whatever
remember.
you gotta
I'm
say
sure
right
I
now.
wrote something mean about somebody who's listening.
Okay. All right. It stays
We'll
in the
see.
vault. Sorry, listeners. All right. Before we get to our top story, we got a little bit of business today. We're throwing an awesome event that you're invited to. Tickets are on sale now for Heyday, March 8th. It's an indoor fair with urban flair, all your favorite carnival classics with a distinctly Denver twist.
Yeah.
Denver or jeez Louise. Bree, what are you excited about with Heyday? What are you thinking about today?
I mean, I'm excited to see Ballet Folklorico always. That feels like such a staple of Denver events, the beautiful dancing. Honestly, I did not know about this balloon guy until we hired him for this event. And I was like, this guy looks awesome.
Jeremy the balloon guy, the
Yeah.
Denver balloon guy.
You
Yeah,
have
he
to
seems
have a
hilarious.
it's such a unique talent to be able to make these balloon animals, but also have a really good sense of humor about it. And like this guy seems like I'm excited to meet him and see what he makes.
So yeah, I know nothing about. It's literally carnival classics, like circus type events.
We're talking
Jugglers.
face painting. We're talking Jeremy the balloon guy. There is going to be a Rocky Mountain inflatable snowboard simulator ride.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, like a mechanical bull, but for shredding.
Cool.
That's in my copy here.
Yeah.
I think it sounds really
good.
fun.
I'm there. Family friendly.
It's
It's for
very
kids
family
and
friendly.
adults.
Yeah.
So
Bring the whole Brash clan.
Yeah.
All the
I don't know
Brash
if
brothers.
you truly want that, but
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I met some of your brothers.
yeah.
It's a good.
There's
Wait,
a
how
lot
many
of
are
them,
there?
though. There's
Yeah.
3 of them, other
Oh.
than me.
wow.
So there's 4 total.
Oh my gosh.
taking over the world. The Brash.
Taken
Poor
over
boys.
the
Poor
world. Yeah,
mom.
just wait. No, she loves it. She loves
does.
it, and she'll tell you she loves it. And did she cry when my youngest brother was born and he was a boy? Yeah, but now she's learned to love it.
My best friend has 4 boys, and she was like, "We just had to quit because we knew we were just never gonna get a girl. Just forget it."
She wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, let's get into our top story today. We got a couple of great topics, especially with Sam here. So Sam was on the show 2 years ago to make the case why Colorado was the best place in the country to buy an electric vehicle. But now, as of this week, there's a different president in the White House. Maybe you heard about that. And he has some new ideas and some new friends whispering in his ear. So Sam, we're going to talk about EVs. Before we get to the president and Mr. Musk, just let's start with can you explain what's changed in the last 2 years since Colorado was, as you said, the best place in the country to buy an EV?
I think the biggest thing that changed is a lot of people bought EVs. Like if you drive around the roads, you've probably noticed that. We're still sorting through data in terms of these reports on auto sales and how they compare one state to another. But at least one report came out and said Colorado is the number 1 state in terms of EV market share. That was for Q3, quarter 3 of 2024. Meaning we beat out California, which has led the nation for decades, years or decades, right? And I think what's really interesting about how Colorado has gone about this is we have these incredible EV purchase incentives. Like you can get $5,000 from the state in addition to the $7,500 from the federal government, another $2,500 if it's a cheap EV. All that is really, really amazing to buy an EV. But they've bundled that into these crazy lease deals that all kinds of people have taken advantage of. There's a dealership, Boulder Nissan, that has kind of been the pioneer of this strategy by offering leases as low as $9 a month for a Nissan Leaf.
My mother has a Leaf.
Yeah.
It's really
Nissan
a
Leaf sales
purely
have
commuter
gone
car.
crazy in Colorado. The latest Colorado Auto Dealers report came out a couple weeks ago, and it showed that in 2024, Nissan Leaf sales increased in Colorado by something like 850% in Colorado. They've just gone crazy with these leases, and it appears to have worked in terms of getting more EVs on the road. And I think what's really interesting, and this kind of brings us back to the whole political question, Colorado has done that by kind of embracing cars other than Teslas. You know, Tesla's still the number one EV brand in Colorado, but between 2023 and 2024, total sales of Teslas actually declined. And meanwhile, you saw other brands like Hyundai, Kia, Nissan have just exploded. And so that's what's really driving us to the top of the national pack.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, the politics obviously are huge here, and that's what's so fun about this conversation right now. But like Mr. Musk and his reputation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still get that like when I pass a Tesla, and it really like just the feeling, just like it's such it's such a connection to that brand because of him and what he does now in public and all of that. But what I find interesting is what you're talking about, Sam, is it's not just the incentives here, it's the types of cars you can get now. Like thinking about how EVs were characterized before, like hybrids, you know, like I remember those, there were like bumper stickers that said like on a Prius, like I identify as a Hummer or something, or like just like really derogatory stickers about Priuses on trucks. And there was something about that particular era where it was like, there were only a couple of options. And I was thinking back and I was like, remember that story? It was like when he was House Minority Leader, Mike Lynch got a DUI.
And the Republican, cowboy hat wearing,
rural guy,
Eastern Plains.
And what I remembered from that story was that he was driving an electric Ford Mustang.
Cool.
So just to show the types of cars that you can get now, and like they're cooler. Frankly, I mean,
they're cooler, they're better. They can drive farther.
I was going to say the battery lives have gotten better over the last couple of years. There's just more types because cars are such an identity thing for people. And I think that when your favorite brand, whatever that is, started making EVs, maybe it made you more inclined to buy. That's how I'm feeling. Like,
is that how you're feeling?
I mean, my first car was a 1970 Volkswagen bus. And at the time, I hated it because it went 35 miles an hour. And it was just like the worst car. But it was what I had as a 16-year-old. But they just released the Buzz ID Volkswagen van remake in an electric. And I want it so bad.
Yeah. It's a cool car. It's pretty pricey.
It's like 60 to 80 grand or something crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just, to me, is showing how brands are showing up because people identify so much with their cars.
I'm looking at it now.
It's so cute.
It looks pretty cool. It's not like exactly.
It's really a minivan. I mean, we can be honest.
It's a minivan with some like retro styling
good
to make
colors.
It look like the old car, but it's mostly a van.
It totally is.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for a Volkswagen, so I would do it.
Let's get back to the politics and Mr. Musk. You know, my friend JD told me he recently saw a Tesla with a bumper sticker on it.
This
that
isn't
said,
JD Vance. This is like a friend of yours.
My buddy JD, friend of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, JD Lopez.
Okay.
He was telling me he saw a Tesla on it with a bumper sticker that said, "I bought it before he went nuts."
Oh God, I saw a Reddit post of one of those stickers on a Cybertruck, which I was like,
you bought it a year ago.
You
didn't.
That's not possible.
Yeah. You're not paying attention in that case, but whatever.
That's really funny. So the politics seem to be, I mean, now that we have, new president in office, I don't understand this. I want you to explain this, Sam. The conservatives are talking about getting rid of something that Biden apparently did called an electric vehicle mandate. Mm-hmm. Do you know can you just explain what they're talking about?
Sure. It's easy. That doesn't exist. So I don't know what they're talking about either. There's no EV mandate, right? Like Trump issued this executive order saying he's going to get rid of the EV mandate. What did that do specifically? So it like ended Biden's goal to have half of new cars sold in the U.S. to be plug-in vehicles by 2030. That's a goal. That's not like a mandate or a rule exactly. That's just like what he wanted to see happen. It also, and I'm not sure how enforceable this is. I think that this might have to go through the courts, but California has special authority to set their own vehicle sales goals because they have so many issues with air quality. And they've used that authority to set aggressive sales targets for EVs. It apparently will repeal that, which could slow down EV sales across the country. But that, again, it's not exactly an EV mandate. It's something happening in California.
Interesting.
And then the other thing that Biden did is he passed billions of dollars through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act to fund EV chargers, fast chargers that would let you go on road trips and stuff. The federal government has been really slow to roll out that money. Colorado actually built its first charger with that money, or at least opened it just earlier this month. So there's still lots of federal money waiting to be spent, and he's trying to end that as well. So that's what it does. I don't think any of those things are saying the federal government was telling you to buy an electric car and now they won't anymore. But that's what he means, and that's what the executive order does.
All right. Well, that's helpful.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why he's doing it, because his buddy, his funder, his backer, Musk, owns the biggest electric vehicle company. I've never understood this.
Musk has addressed this, and he thinks that Tesla just has a more established footprint when it comes to EV sales in the U.S. Their cars are more profitable because their manufacturing is cheaper. People identify with the brand. They like the brand. So he thinks that if the U.S. specifically got rid of the $7,500 EV tax credit, that would hurt his competitors more than Tesla.
Interesting.
That's the logic of it partially. And he hasn't spoken about this, but Tesla is also kind of trying to stop being a car company, right? They want to be a AI company that runs cyber cabs around the city.
And like a surveillance
I saw
company.
that he also, what was it? I was just talking to someone about that company, Sunrun, the like solar, residential solar installation company that just had to lay off a bunch of people here.
Yep.
Sorry about all that for those people. But Tesla bought one of their competitors, which was
City.
owned by his cousins. So I knew they were expanding in that way, but I didn't know they were getting into that other stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, AI is like the AI he uses to run the driverless cars right now. But he wants to pivot the company into being more of an AI company than a traditional vehicle company. That's why the valuation of the company is so high. So I think like he's not exactly thinking about it as a company like Ford or Hyundai or Toyota that needs to move cars to make money. So I think that's part of the logic as to like, why is he teaming up with Trump as Trump goes after electric vehicles?
Interesting.
Yeah, I just
don't
think
know.
he has a humiliation fetish, like most of these men that circle around Trump. But that's just me. I just like, it just feels like, I mean, the whole thing with Trump too is like, I feel like I heard a clip of him this week doing the Sarah Palin drill baby drill thing. Like, we're bringing oil back, as if it ever went anywhere.
We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. Help to do it with, he said at his inaugural
these
address.
things have been coexisting for quite a while, the electric vehicles and the, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that, to me, it's not that big of a threat, but it's a good PR move for Trump, and it satisfies a part of his base, and that's what he does usually.
Let's bring this back to the local here, because Colorado, great market for this. People love him here. Our governor, he's been trying to thread the needle with appealing to Trump and Musk on some things that he might agree with them on, but also represent he's a Democrat here in Colorado. So you talked to him in December about this, and I wanted to call out this line from your story where he was talking about Trump's rumored plans for EVs. And I just want to know what was happening in this moment, because you wrote, when asked about those plans, Polis took out his phone to search for a recent post on X from Elon Musk, who owns Tesla and supported President-elect Trump in the last election. The governor gave up after scrolling for about a minute, but said he had hoped to find a post where the billionaire Trump advisor claimed EVs would continue to win new customers without federal help. The guy just tweets all day and night, Polis said.
Yeah. It was a really awkward moment at a press conference where he just was like, I was like, what do you think about Trump's potential EV policies? He's like, hold on, and then scrolled his phone.
And everybody
Well,
sat
we all
in silence.
just stood there, and then he didn't find it.
So
I don't know. I mean, you're right. Polis is walking this very careful line. Like he said, in terms of attending the inauguration, praising RFK, doing things like this where he's saying, Musk at least is in the ear of the president and he knows about the importance of EVs. That he knows that Colorado relies on the support of the federal government. And to the extent that he wants to work with the federal government, he's going to do it. So that's his explanation for this. As far as that moment, I don't know. Like, I tried to look for the tweet later that he was referencing. I couldn't find it.
What a time.
Yeah, but I think, Trump has built a coalition that spans, a kind of new portion of American politics. And I think Polis is looking for places where, Colorado has an in to that coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's EVs.
I don't know.
See.
I don't know. I mean, as you talked about, Trump is not, he's leaning into how these cars could be polarized.
Yeah.
And I don't see how that works out if Colorado is trying to boost the sales of these things over time. Because it depends on a domestic EV industry. And I think that's what's so kind of confusing about Trump's approach to this is he's like, he's supporting things like, mining critical minerals in the U.S. and getting those here instead of from China, or even annexing Greenland, taking over Greenland. Like, a big part of that play would be that, as the ice sheets melt, they'll reveal all these critical minerals that we can mine. China is so good at this. At this point, the buyers for those critical minerals would be domestic EV makers. It would
Wow.
So like who's going to buy it?
That is
right?
so fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's like it doesn't quite make sense yet, right?
We'll see.
As far as like industrial policy goes, but it definitely makes sense politically.
Yeah. Well, we'll be scrolling looking for tweets while they all figure it all out, I guess. And yeah, anyway, more EVs coming. We'll see. Bree?
I think so. I think that it's already happening. I've had some friends recently buy Teslas that I was actually surprised. It just didn't seem like their brand or style, but I think it's just getting to that point.
Yeah,
Also,
they are pretty cheap for what you get, right?
Yeah.
Like the Model Y, over 300 miles of range,
And it's just one of those things
$40,000-ish.
that, like, as it becomes more ubiquitous, it just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
You know?
The brand means something else. Like the Fords
Yeah.
you see on the street. You don't think of Henry Ford and his famous anti-Semitism.
Right.
You don't.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just a Ford. It's a type of car.
Anti-Semitic car makers,
Something about that.
And I also just want to say, I think Polis is playing a game he can't win with Trump. Like, everybody, you can't win the Trump game. Like, you can try to sit on some side of it and try to get in there, but at some point, he's going to come after you for something. So good luck to our governor.
Wish him the best of luck. I also think that's fascinating. That's something I'm watching this year for sure, is how this...
Along with just watching his weird Twitter behavior, Polis's weird Twitter behavior.
He's having a
Photoshopping
time.
himself into things and using weird AI images. I don't know. It's entertaining.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about one of Sam's other favorite reporting topics, wolves.
Let's go.
All right, we're back. It's been a little over 4 years since Denverites overruled rural Coloradans in a squeaker vote to reintroduce wolves to our wilderness. Since then, we've seen historic press conferences, numerous cattle depredations, aka killings, and from where I sit in here in Denver, a steady trickle of bad news about wolves. So, Sam, that's our hot topic this week. Has the vibe shifted on wolf reintroduction for Colorado voters? What do you think? First impression.
I don't know. That's something that I will not offer an opinion on until I see data. The Wolf Advocates released a poll that showed people across the general public still support wolf reintroduction as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that became an actual ballot initiative, which it might, and we could talk about that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about it now. What do you know?
Okay. A group of wolf opponents filed draft language for a 2026 ballot initiative that would repeal Proposition 114, the original ballot initiative Colorado passed in 2020. So this might be back before voters. So as far as like, is the vibe going to shift? Like, maybe. And we would like find out in the same way we found out the first time. So I think there's that. I don't know. The wolf thing is such a frustrating beat for me because like it inflames these political tensions.
Mm-hmm.
that people hold so strongly, right? Like if you're in rural Colorado and you see CPW out there releasing wolves.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Yes, sorry.
Go
Colorado
on.
Parks and Wildlife releasing wolves in your community. It's easy to understand how this feels like an imposition put upon you by urban Coloradans. On the other side, it's like the state for so long has prioritized the interests of ranchers and sportsmen and how it manages wildlife. And reintroducing wolves is a way to reorient the entire state towards thinking about predator conservation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly like what benefits that would offer Colorado specifically. Like we know in general, having large predators on a landscape is good for biodiversity. But as far as like, have you seen that video, like how wolves saved rivers in Yellowstone?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's been debunked, right? Like that's not what happened in Yellowstone.
Really? Because I
yeah.
feel like that was such a motivator for voters. If you watch that and you go, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, and same with the other thing that they think wolves could do is that Colorado really struggles with this thing called chronic wasting disease. It's kind of like mad cow for deer and elk. And the idea is that maybe that disease is the result of a loss of large predators because prior to that, you had enough predators to take out the sick animals and the disease didn't really spread. That also just hasn't really been substantiated, right? Like we have places where there's wolves and there's CWD and we haven't really seen a change in those patterns really clearly. So it's just one of those things where it's like, what are the benefits? Like people feel very strongly about it, but I think on both sides of this, it's like, in terms of things that kill cattle or threaten the ranching industry, wolves are a pain and they cost ranchers money, but they're not the thing killing the most cattle, right? Like disease, weather kill far more cattle on a regular basis. And on the other side, like, okay, you care about wilderness, you care about wildlife. Wolves are a political symbol that might speak to a shift in how we conserve wildlife, but they're probably not the most important thing, right? So I feel like when I'm covering wolves, I'm covering a pure political story with connections to real biology and real economics, but the magnitude of it feels very exaggerated in terms of like what's happening on the ground. And in a lot of cases, what's happening on the ground is like ranchers figuring it out, like working through it, hiring range riders, finding guard dogs to protect their cattle. And I'm trying to find ways to tell more of those stories of like, can this be managed in a way that's not too detrimental to this industry, which is, supplying food to people, preserving open space in Colorado, all those things.
That is so interesting because that is just like not the impression I have just reading the stories and seeing the headlines. You just see like cattle kill, rancher furious.
Yeah.
And you never hear stories like ecology slowly improving.
Well, and we're not going to. I mean, that's the thing about the whole wolf dynamic that has played out before. And there's been academic papers about this. One thing about wolves and how they prey on livestock is that if you have a wolf pack, it usually has a pretty defined territory, apparently. It like lives in a particular place. What that means is that if your ranch unfortunately happens to be in that particular place and those wolves have a habit of preying on livestock, maybe those wolves don't kill tons of cattle across the state, but one guy gets absolutely screwed, right? Like one guy is dealing with this
they just
day
keep coming
in,
and
day
coming.
out. They keep coming, which means it's a perfect media story. You have a place to go. You have someone to talk to. You have a clear victim, right, who's like actually dealing with a real problem. You might have a chance to actually see the wolves. Like it's such a great story. And this played out in Idaho and Montana and Wyoming following the Yellowstone wolf reintroduction, like the same sorts of stories we're seeing now where you can point to the rancher who's dealing with the problem. And now it's happening here.
Bree, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's just it's partially just unfortunately functions as a symbol of the divide that we see in the country between maybe rural voters and urban voters.
Yeah.
It signifies something bigger than just the wolf reintroduction, but other places where we have maybe voted in the city that does something that affects rural communities in a way that we'll never understand. And so to me, it's just made it even more of an easy issue to cover in a certain way because it signifies another divide.
Absolutely. And I think what most people don't know is prior to Proposition 114 and the wolf reintroduction vote, Colorado's written wolf policy was if wolves migrate here on their own, they're a state endangered species, they're a federally endangered species, we will protect them and assist their growth. And I think that's a counterfactual here of how things could have gone. Because we've seen wolves migrate to Colorado on their own and they've been killed. They've wandered across the border in Wyoming and been killed. It's unclear if some may have been shot in Colorado, and we can talk about that too. But I think that the fact that this entered electoral politics has really inflamed the tension between urban and rural Colorado that you're talking about.
Well, it's not just entered; it's gone all the way to the top. I mean, I would hate to bring national politics.
I know what you're going to read.
This.
I know what you're going to say. You did a whole podcast about her. Let's hear it.
She's here. She's here in your ears. Our Congresswoman Lauren Boebert from which district is she representing in these days? The fourth.
Fourth. I was like
Eastern
third,
Plains. I know
fourth.
exactly where she represents.
We should know.
She represents. She's got some influence with the Trump administration. This is one of her pet issues. Although the district she represents currently does not have any wolves in it.
Okay, what one weird story from the last year is if you look at the list of wolf kills, like livestock killed by wolves, there's like one on the Eastern Plains.
Oh, there is one.
There is one that died, but it was a wolf that they think migrated all the way from Minnesota and then killed a llama somewhere on the Eastern Plains and then got killed itself. So I'm pretty sure that's Boebert's district.
This was her concern.
Yeah.
She was worried about that llama, and that's why she has been pushing to delist gray wolves as an endangered species. Mm-hmm. So taking us all the way back to that pre-2020 vote, I guess, in that, the old status quo. Her quote on this recently was, "For too long, farmers and ranchers have been powerless to defend their livestock from gray wolf attacks. She wants to delist them and make it okay for ranchers to shoot them."
For too long?
For too long, she says.
Okay.
I guess the 4 years.
So, here's what's really confusing about all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the Endangered Species Act, by saying wolves are endangered, it means that the federal government is the managing body over this species. So, in places where wolves have been delisted, like Montana and Idaho and the Northern Rockies, that's done is given states more direct control over the species. Whereas in Colorado, where they are on the endangered species list, we've had to get something called a 10J permit to manage wolves as an experimental population. So we actually have oversight of the federal government. If they were delisted, it would just hand more power to Governor Polis and Colorado Parks and Wildlife to manage this species. So I understand completely how it would seem like a political win, because this is the law that protects wolves at the federal level, but the practical impact would be that the federal government would have even less say over their management in Colorado.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very confusing, but I'm just like, it's like, well, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, something that seems like a political win is like right up her alley. Anyway, let's talk about this weird story that came out of Pitkin County. I wonder if you saw this one, Sam. There was these rumors going around on Facebook in December that then Colorado Politics reported on. They reported and named the owners of a ranch where some wolves had reportedly been reintroduced. That turned out to not be true at all. But before the rumors were debunked, some anti-wolf people showed up at this home with guns and wearing camo, looking like they were ready to go hunting for wolves. It seems like, what is this? Is this wolf hysteria? What's happening here?
So there's a Facebook group that I have joined. They've let reporters join called Colorado Wolf Tracker. And it's a lot of wolf opponents, I'd say, mainly wolf opponents, who are, upset about wolf reintroduction. And earlier the month when Colorado went to British Columbia and captured wolves and moved them down to Colorado and released them here in the state, they were being very quiet about exactly what was going on. They said this operation is happening. It's going to happen in Pitkin and Eagle counties. Other than that, that's what we can say right now because we're worried about our staff and we're worried about threats. So that's what you're getting. Mm-hmm. And so they responded by posting photos of trucks, of CPW trucks going to and from airports, tracking the plane that was chartered to take the wolves from British Columbia to Colorado, using flight tracking apps. I mean, they were really, trying to figure out what they could, which was helpful for me as a reporter. It gave me some hint as to what was going on.
Right.
But also spoke to, this is getting to the level where people are nervous about their safety.
I mean, are you hearing that from CPW workers, from like from regulators, from people who are out there working on this? Like, I don't know. I'm worried about the just average folks who are just doing their jobs.
Yeah. Jeff Davis held a press conference after they finalized this latest round of wolf releases and said, we didn't want to be so secretive and run this like clandestine wolf release operation, but we felt like we had to because we've gotten direct threats by email, phone calls, stuff like that. So that's what he said about it.
Boy, this is just, I mean, like you said, it's so political now, and like the way politics are, people's brains break a little bit and they just like get so into these things, and it's very extreme.
Yeah.
It's very extreme.
Just thinking, we've talked about the CPW employees before as this was going into effect, and there was a story about the mental health stuff that they were dealing with because they are playing the middleman between these two really polarized groups. And like, I imagine when you go into that profession, it's because you like love animals and the outdoors and science and biology. You know what I mean? You're not like thinking about, I have to navigate a situation as a pseudo therapist between people that don't want to talk to each other,
It's so tough.
Asking a lot.
And I think like to get back to the point I made earlier, they're doing a lot of interesting work around, protecting livestock, using new techniques. The state is launching this big range rider program where they're going to employ people to watch over sheep and cattle from horseback or ATVs.
Sounds like a cool job.
Yeah. So and applications are open.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. If you think you have the skills to do it, I don't know the first thing about how to do that. But yeah, they're trying some stuff that I think is really interesting, and CBW has taken the lead on all of this. And it seems like, you mentioned this is like every headline is a big failure. Like, this is about what I expected when it started. Right?
We haven't given it a lot of time, I feel like. It needs to, biology takes a while.
It's going to take a while.
Overnight. And
they're, this is about the number of dead sheep and cattle that I would have guessed. 3 of the 10 wolves that reintroduced died. That's about what I would have expected, right? Like, I think this was always like kind of, if you're paying really close attention, like, this is going to be how it goes. But, it just generates such a long, it's just an engine for headlines. And I think that definitely is going to impact public perception of how it's going.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that effort to put this question back on the ballots. That's so interesting. I did not know that was happening. So now I even more than before, I want to hear from you all, listeners. What do you think? Have you changed your mind about wolves? Or not? Call in, leave your name, neighborhood at the, I wrote this earlier thinking I would have the confidence to do it. The AWU hotline. Leave your name and neighborhood. Leave us your take on wolf reintroduction. The AWU hotline is open.
Is it your wolf howl?
Is it like 1-800-AW, like, oh? That'd be pretty cool.
720-500-5418. Call in, leave us your take. We want to know. What do you think?
AWU.
Yeah. And can I do my own little promo?
Sure.
Okay, if you want,
I'll allow it. Is that okay, Bree?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right, I'm hosting a wolf panel. If you want to hear more about this stuff, on February 6th at the Rialto Theater in Loveland. We're going to have some biologists, the head of the wolf conservation program for CPW, he'll be there, as well as ranchers and other people who are experts on this stuff and can, give you their perspective on what's going on in Colorado.
That's awesome.
Sounds like fun. Yeah. Put a link in the show notes for that as well. And now we're going to go to one more break and come back with wins and fails. All right, we're back. Time for the best way to end the week. Rocky Mountain highs and lows, aka wins and fails. Each of us brought a recent local something we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. we're going to start with fails, as always. And Bree, do you want to take us away?
Sure. I mean, we're going to talk about this more next week, too, but this uncertainty and fear being sowed by Trump's deportation threats, it's really already impacting the Denver metro area. It's a really vulnerable situation for a lot of people and families. And just the communications that I've gotten in the last couple of days about it. Like, I got a text last night reminding folks not to spread rumors about potential ICE raids because it's just adding confusion to things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a group here called the Colorado Rapid Response Network that's trying to track, verify or debunk ICE raid claims. So they have a Facebook page where you can see and you can call a hotline and say they'd prefer if you do that versus just telling people, oh, I heard there was an ICE raid, so that they can actually go to the location that you've heard about it and try to verify if it's happening or not. So they're trying to be an active trying to help the situation as best they can by making sure information out there is clear and truthful. But I also I got an email from a friend who works with people with developmental disabilities, and he said just today we were notified by a parent. They're in Mexico right now, but their child is still here in Denver at school. So this is an example of the chaos experienced by our newcomers who are pursuing the health and safety that the U.S. provides. So he in particular is dealing with newcomers with developmental disabilities, but what happens when they get separated from their families. And so it's just, I'm glad that there are folks that are already on top of this issue and trying to be proactive in keeping people safe, but it's just such a fail of our country that this is the outcome where we're at right now.
Yeah, the rumors and the information around this.
So scary.
That's going to be a challenge, I think.
Yeah. So I admire that there are groups trying to create a clear track of information, so you at least have somewhere to go that maybe has the best up-to-date information of what's really happening.
Sam, you want to give us your fail?
Sure. I'm not sure if this is a fail so much as a disappointment for me, but Lao Wang Noodle House on South Federal near my house is shutting down. This growing up was the one place you could get Shaolin Bao, which is like a soup dumpling. It's a total hole in the wall. And I loved it because it was decidedly an unwelcoming atmosphere. It had a couple who ran it who everyone referred to as mom and dad, which always made me very uncomfortable. Like the servers who were clearly not related to them would refer to them as mom and dad. And then they would
It is a little culty.
Yeah, they would tell you what to order.
Culture,
It'd be like, I want these. They're like, no, you don't. And then they would, it was just very old Denver.
Sometimes I like that.
Yeah.
But it's like a fine line.
Absolutely.
That kind of
when I was a little guy, I remembered one of my brothers put too much soy sauce on his rice, and they were like, you can't do that here. It's inappropriate. What are you doing? And it's closing, which is a bummer. And I think it's just kind of a loss for Denver.
Have you ever been there, Bri?
No, you know why? Because Sam, every time we went to that strip mall, it was closed.
Yeah.
Because we go to Jay's Noodles next door.
Jay's Noodles was great.
And Fadua used to be in that strip mall as well before they moved into their bigger location. Also the world's tiniest, weirdest, awful parking lot. But every time we went, they were closed.
Yeah.
I've lived over on this side of town for 12 years. It was never open, so I could never even try it. I didn't even know it was a real restaurant because they were never open. So I'm glad you got to go there.
I did. So
I can't say I had the pleasure. Are they closed now, or are they closing soon?
No, I think they close in February.
Okay.
So
you
if you have the opportunity, if you want to get some soup dumplings, you can do it.
I do. I've seen people lamenting this place a lot of restaurants closing lately. But.
Well, if you go and they're closed, go next door to Jay's Noodles. The couple that runs that are phenomenal. They're so nice. It's the opposite experience. They're very welcoming. They're really nice. They're very patient. And they're just lovely, cordial people.
I like that. All right, I'll go. So my fail this week, this was a report from the Colorado Sun this week about the budget deficit at the state. Apparently we were already getting some inklings about what kind of cuts we could be seeing. And this one caught my eye because it just felt like moral in a way that it irked me a little bit. So apparently the Colorado Department of Personnel and Administration is planning to cut the state insurance coverage for public employees who have been prescribed GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy to fight obesity or prevent diabetes. So this will apparently affect about 850 people who are currently covered. And instead of paying about $30 a month for these new drugs that have been kind of divisive and interesting, and they'll be paying more than $1,000 per month if they want to continue this coverage.
Wow. I mean, these are drugs that help treat diabetes too, and
Yeah.
people with prediabetes. Like, it's not just obesity, which I think is important.
Yeah, no, the diabetes coverage, that will continue, but it's the
Okay.
pre-diabetes and the obesity that under this plan proposal would not be covered.
We hate preventative care in this country, I tell you.
I know, it's just, I found like, I mean, and it's, again, FDA approved it for these uses. So like, this is like somebody maybe who isn't a doctor, maybe
Making
I
a moral
don't know how this,
judgment about how people are using a drug that seems to be working really well for them. And I find this to be really disappointing because, again, we don't know enough, I think, also. Like, it's still the jury's out on the long-term effects of this
I suppose so.
drug.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about it. Like, once you're off of it, you gain all the way back if you're using it as a weight loss drug. That's been the experience, I think, for a lot of people. So, but it's also changed a lot of people's other markers of health that have kept them out of the diabetes range as well. So I do think it's an absolute weird moral judgment of a medication that still remains to be seen a little bit. And it just seems very pointed and specific and weird.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, for this to be like one of the first things we're talking about cutting on this massive deficit, it's $17 million, I guess, would take it out of the budget, which is not nothing, but...
I know, I'm like, does someone own like a gym that's like part of this who's like, I'm losing members to my gym?
Oh, you think it's like Planet Fitness lobbyists
Big
called
Jim.
the state? Yeah. Big Jim is absolutely real. Like,
oh, for sure.
absolutely.
Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness takeover right now. You guys
my
need
24-hour
to
fitness.
you need to do a story on that because I've become like a total Orange Theory nerd. Which
Oh.
yeah, and it is so corporate, and I love it so much.
You sound like my best friend loves core power yoga for that reason.
Yeah, it is like. I mean, Coach Cody, he keeps me honest. He says such dumb things during our workout. I hope Cody doesn't hear. Like yesterday, we were doing a workout, and he was like, "It's an endurance workout. You endure through life, and you'll endure through this."
I'm on his side. I think that's great. I like that a lot, actually.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, these GLP-1 drugs, I mean, people have their own opinions about it, obviously, but one Commerce City Democrat, Senator Daphne Michelson Jeanette,
Senjane.
Jeanette?
Yeah.
Senjane. She says apparently she uses these GLP-1 drugs. She's on them for preventative cases, but she's already planning to push back, and I guess she's talking to some other lawmakers who are upset about this. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this develops. I thought that was fascinating. Let's move on to wins.
Yeah.
Sam, you want to give us our
Sure.
first win of the week?
Big win is a play opening tomorrow, Friday, at the Denver Center of the Performing Arts called The Reservoir. This is a world premiere by a Denver born and raised playwright. It's a comedy about alcohol and alcoholism that follows a young man who moves back to Denver from New York to get sober and helps his grandparents deal with memory loss while they help him deal with his addiction to alcohol, and explored sort of the science of both those things, of alcoholism and memory loss and Alzheimer's. It's incredibly moving, really funny. I saw it at the Denver New Play Summit 2 years ago, and it was selected of one of two plays to get a full production. Just so happens it's also written by my brother, Jake Brash.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
so-
way.
I was going to say, what's the
I know, it's
playwright's
like you're
last
bearing
name?
the lead. That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is huge for him. This is like his big break. It's premiering here. It's going to Atlanta and then LA after this.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So now's the chance to see it before he completely blows up and it lands in New York and you can't afford to see it. And it's genuinely really, really good. Like, I if it wasn't, I would say it's really good, but this is like
It's
really,
your brother,
really
it
good.
makes it even sweeter. I mean, I have to say, as a sober person, I love when humor can be introduced to the conversation because it gets so serious and such a downer thing that, like, sometimes it just like we don't want to talk about it in that way. And so I'm excited to see someone talk about it in a way that's funny and real. And
Yeah, and at least during the New Play Summit, to see the audience, just it broke everybody. Like everybody was crying because I just think like everyone's had an experience with one of those things. Everyone's helped somebody going through those things. Maybe you've experienced it
I've
yourself.
experienced both of them. So.
Yeah, so it just like I think it hits home. It's good. Go see it.
I know it's semi-autobiographical.
Yeah.
I want to ask, is there maybe a secondary character who's a public radio reporter, maybe a sibling?
Interestingly, so the play, it's based on my brother's own life, loosely. He appears as an only child, and a character based on my mom is in it, and obviously our grandparents are in it. But he appears as an only child. In the early readings, Sam was an off-screen character where his like confused grandparents would be like, "Hey, Sam," and he'd be like, "I'm not Sam." And that apparently was too confusing, so that got cut. So
You got cut out.
Yeah, even as an off-screen character, I was cut, which I was fine with. So no, I do not appear in any way, shape, or form.
The subtext is there, I think.
I don't know. I don't think it is.
Not even a little bit.
I don't think it is. I don't think I'm at all there.
That's fine. Well, sorry, listeners. Sam is not a part of this play, but it does sound good regardless. I heard from our theater-loving producer, Lizzie, that she saw it. She loved it as well.
Paul, what's your win?
Thank you. So my win, this is a story that's been going for a minute here. I care about this because I'm a hockey fan. I like the Avalanche. But there is a rivalry developing with a brand new franchise in the NHL in Salt Lake City. They call them currently the Utah Hockey Club because they couldn't get the name settled. Before the season started. The team just moved from Phoenix. So it's a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, for me, anytime Salt Lake City doesn't get what they want, I like that. So that's what happened this week. The owner of this franchise, the Utah Hockey Club, Ryan Smith, he had a trademark application rejected for the Utah Yeti, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the Avalanche's branding. We got the Yeti foot and we got the old mascot Howler. That's our thing. You can't have Yeti.
So you think it's a win because it
would
because it puts Salt Lake City down.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a win for us.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. They don't get
do you
what they
have a
want.
preference on what they should be?
I think they should stick with Utah Hockey Club.
Okay.
I think people feel like it's generic, but to me, it's like it's classy. It's classic. Old time hockey. It's like the Montreal Canadiens, the hockey club of Montreal. It's old school.
Maybe they should just be the Utah Avalanche and.
Oh no!
Really take Paul off.
Oh no. Anyway, yeah, that's my win. Bree, how about you?
Detour's new piece is up at DIA. It's called It's Not What You Take, It's What You Bring Back. It's a new installation from Thomas Detour Evans, who you mostly know from his like beautiful, colorful murals of people all around the city. But this is like it's a bunch of suitcases. I'm going to like make it sound, it's beautiful, but it's sort of like a grouping of suitcases on the ceiling and sort of this infinity pattern that's painted in his usual beautiful color palette. But Patty Calhoun wrote this really cool piece for Westward that digs a little bit into the piece itself. And she said that it includes 183 bags and a briefcase from a renowned artist, Daryl Anderson, who has a mosaic piece in Concourse A as well. So it's sort of a tribute to another artist that's there. But it also includes a Jokic jersey, a pair of tennis shoes, a guitar, binoculars, and they're all sort of tucked into this giant chain of bags. And I'm just excited to see it in person. I've seen the photos. And it's also one of those things that, like, again, I have a kid. If I'm at the airport, this is a cool thing you can sit them down and have them look at for a while, and they'll find different things to discover about it.
I'm still waiting for DIA to be, the cultural hub of this city. I'll go see a concert. I'll jump on the A line.
They had a program for a while. My husband used to go play. He would play for like 6 to 8 hours a day for like 4 weeks.
I don't know the specifics of this, but I remember at one point a DIA person was like, we want this to be a place, like a destination. I'm like, no. It's an airport. Like, let it be an airport. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a thing they definitely were doing for a while. This new piece from Detour looks awesome.
It looks beautiful.
I've seen the pictures. I can't wait to see it in person. Have you seen the pictures, Sam?
I have not.
You got to check
so
it out.
cool.
Okay. It's very colorful. I think it might be his best piece yet.
I'm glad that Jokic has earned his place too.
I love that. I can't wait to see the jersey.
Denver art and lore. That's great.
He's our guy. All right. Well, that's the show, everybody. Thanks for doing it. Sam, it's great to have you here.
This is always fun.
Yeah. Bree?
Thanks, guys.
See ya. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Lizzie Goldsmith, Olivia Jewel Love, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Coach Cody about us the next time you're working out. If you love the show, come see us in person at Heyday, an indoor fair with urban flair, on Saturday, March 8th. Get your tickets now at heydaydenver.com. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week. Bye.